Spending review invested to keep our people safe with a £10.9 billion real terms increase to the Ministry of Defence budget. This will help grow the Welsh economy and our thriving defence sector, which is home to over 160 companies employing more than 20,000 people right across Wales.
Olivia Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government's commitment to spend 5% of GDP on national security will be transformational for Wales and transformational for my constituency, where thousands are employed in the defence sector and where we've welcomed a £15 billion boost for the atomic weapons establishment. Does the Secretary of State and the Minister agree with me that both our national security and our local economies are better off with Labour?
Minister.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Speaker. Our ambition is to become a defence industrial superpower by 2025. We are making defence an engine for growth, boosting prosperity, jobs and security for working people across the UK. As part of this, we will establish the UK Defence Innovation Fund with £400 million to fund and grow UK-based companies. And we are launching the new regional defence growth deals across the UK, including a cluster in Wales.
We now come to questions to Prime Minister Jacob Collier.
On, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's always been support across this House for the United Kingdom fulfilling our obligations to Afghans who served alongside British forces. We warned in opposition about Conservative management of this policy, and yesterday the Defence Secretary set out the full extent of the failings that we inherited. A major data breach, a super injunction, a secret route that has already cost hundreds of millions of pounds. Ministers who served under the party opposite have serious questions to answer about how this was ever allowed to happen. The chair of the Defence Committee has indicated that he intends to hold further inquiries. I welcome that and hope that those who were in office at the time will welcome that scrutiny. Mr. Speaker, President Macron's state visit last week saw us secure historic agreements, coordinating our nuclear deterrence, a major investment in Sizewell C, and a landmark returns deal, a crucial next step in restoring order to our immigration system. Tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, I will host Chancellor Merz for further talks on our security and the economy. This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Families in Burton and Uttoxeter are watching their smart meters like hawks and dreading that moment when their energy bill lands on the doorstep. So I welcome Labour's Warm Homes discount that is going to mean £150 off energy bills for millions of people across this country, providing meaningful support in these difficult times. Can the Prime Minister set out how this is going to help support families in my constituency and around the country?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him for his question. I, of course, met his constituent Nicola in her kitchen, and she told me about how hard she's working to support her 3 children, but the past decade has let her down with false promises and public services array. Mr. Speaker, she told me about the difference the Warm Homes discount will make, £150 off energy bills, and she had a meter, if I recall, in her kitchen recording how much energy she was using. And it would make all the difference to her, is what she told me. And I promise Nicola, my honourable friend, there's much more to come.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the head of the OBR warned the government that higher and higher levels of taxes are bad for growth. Does the Prime Minister agree?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you what's bad for growth. 14 years of a Tory government. That's what the stagnant growth for 14 years, leaving a £22 billion black hole. What we've achieved, Mr. Speaker, in the first quarter of this year is the highest growth in the G7, something we promised before the election. Investment of £120 billion into this country, which is a record in the first year of any government, and 3 trade deals, all of which will boost growth.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking about what he achieved. We just heard that inflation is up again, the worst in the G7. We left him with 2% inflation. We have a borrowing up unemployment up, taxes are up under his government. The fact is the Prime Minister doesn't get it, so let me tell him. His budget last year had high taxes. That's why the economy is contracting. But, Mr. Speaker, the government has said that they won't put up taxes for people on modest incomes. But they also seem incapable of explaining who is in that category. So can the Prime Minister clear up the confusion and tell us what he thinks a modest income is?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think of the working people across this country who put in every day and don't get back what they deserve, and that's who we're working for. That's who we're fixing the country. The sort of people that work hard but haven't necessarily got the savings to buy themselves out of problems. And, Mr. Speaker, that's who we're working for, and that's why we put the national living wage up. That's an extra £1,400. The national minimum wage up. That's £2,500 a year. The triple lock, Mr. Speaker, that went up pension up £470. And, of course, we're extending childcare, opening free breakfast clubs and free school meals. We know exactly who we're working for. She comes here every week and just talks the country down.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not talking the country down. I'm talking him down. I asked him what a modest income was. He answered what a working person is. He doesn't know what a modest income is, and even on working people, they cannot define it. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury said that working people are people who don't get a payslip, but millions of self-employed people don't get a payslip. So are the self-employed next in line for a Labour tax rate?
The self-employed were the very people who suffered under their watch, repeatedly suffered under their watch, particularly, if I remember, during COVID, when they didn't get the support that they needed. But she talks the country down, she cherry-picks. We have created, Mr. Speaker, since we've been in government, we've created 380,000 jobs, the employment rate is up, and inactivity is down, the complete opposite of what we inherited.
I don't know where these 3,000 jobs are coming from. Unemployment has gone up every month under his government. And perhaps he should speak to farmers and small business people and find out what those working people think about his government. But, Mr. Speaker, that's not all. We know the Chancellor is launching a review into pension contributions. It's as clear as day why this is. It is because the government is considering taxing them. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that a tax on pension contributions is a tax on working people?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we made absolutely clear manifesto commitments, which she asked me about last week and we're keeping to. I'm not going to write the budget months out from the budget. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the decisions that we took to invest in our NHS, to invest in our public services, all the decisions that they opposed. And it's no wonder that after a first year of a Labour government, business confidence is a 9-year high. 9-year high. That's longer than she's been in government. Mr. Speaker, 384, I'm not withdrawing, I'm going to repeat. Business confidence is at a 9-year high.
Mr. Speaker, he says he's not going to write the budget, but his Chancellor is on the front of the Daily Mirror talking about what she's going to do on taxes. So why can't he do the same in the chamber? Yes. But I asked him about pension contributions. The truth is he doesn't want to talk about pension contributions. It's all right for the Prime Minister. He has his own special law to stop his personal pension from being taxed. But let's be honest, Mr. Speaker, this is really about choices. My party knows that there is an alternative to tax rises. It's cutting spending, something that they are too scared or perhaps too weak to do. We offered to work with him to reform welfare and make meaningful savings. But his refusal sent a signal, and now the cost of borrowing is rising. The budget is in November, that is months away, and the markets may not wait. What will the Prime Minister be doing over the summer to get a grip on the cost of borrowing?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they left the most incredible mess in the economy, and now they think that they can lecture others. I think just last week their chairman said that they've done the necessary apologising for the 14 years of failure. They've done the necessary. I didn't hear an apology for the lowest living standards in living history. I didn't hear an apology for the £22 billion black hole. I didn't hear an apology for the Liz Truss mini budget. So maybe she should like to stand up and make that apology now.
Mr. Speaker, he's not doing. Yes. Mr. Speaker, he's not planning on doing anything this summer to fix the economy. The shadow of the last budget is hanging over the entire country. Just yesterday, only the Conservatives supported the two-child benefit cap because only the Conservatives believe in living within our means. Not Labour, not the Liberal Democrats, not Reform. But it's the end of term, Mr. Speaker, so why don't we go through his end-of-term scorecard? The economy is contracting. Inflation, highest in the G7. Unemployment, up every month under this government. Spending, out of control. Borrowing costs, more expensive than Greece. And this is just the first year, Mr. Speaker. The Labour Party should be ashamed of what it is doing to the country. Mr. Speaker, they can shake their heads as much as they like. The fact is, this summer, they're going to have to go to their constituents and explain why they've been making such a mess over the last 12 months. And isn't the case, Mr. Speaker, that the worst, given that this is just their first year, the worst is yet to come?
We're happily going to go to our constituents. We're going to tell them we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments and we delivered 4 million extra appointments. Mr. Speaker, I've got to upgrade that. It's now 4.5 million extra appointments. So we're going to tell our constituents that. Then we're going to tell them about the free school meals we're rolling about, the free breakfast clubs, the free childcare and school uniform costs. We'll tell them about that. And then when we've done that, we'll move on to affordable houses and tell them about the £39 billion we're investing. When we finish that, we'll tell them about the rail and road upgrades across the country, the £120 billion investment, and of course the 3 trade deals. And Mr. Speaker, we're only just getting started.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister will never know exactly how much it meant to victims of the Troubles in Northern Ireland from right across society when he came, looked them in their eyes and promised them that no murderer would be immune from prosecution. Can he tell us when the last time he spoke to the Taoiseach about the shared approach to this issue was, and can he recommit today to those victims to ensure that no murderer will be seen as above the law?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is a really important issue. Can I begin by saying I have a profound respect and debt to our veterans who served. This is a complicated issue, and we've got to get this right. Veterans are at risk because of the false promises of the last government. Let's be clear. They made a false promise of immunity that does not exist. It was unlawful, it was struck down, and it was undeliverable. Their failed Legacy Act leaves veterans exposed with no settled process. We will create a secure, transparent system that protects veterans from unjustified persecution and gives victims, families and survivors the confidence that they need in the process.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's words about the shocking Afghan data breach under the previous government kept secret for 3 years? And he will have our support if he decides to pursue a public inquiry. Mr. Speaker, I know the Prime Minister will agree that the shocking rise of anti-Semitism we have seen since Hamas's October the 7th terror attacks has no place in our society. British Jews should not have to live in fear of hatred, racism and abuse on our streets or online. A new report from the Board of Deputies Commission on Anti-Semitism, chaired by Lord Mann and Dame Penny Mordaunt, has set out 10 recommendations to tackle this appalling scourge. Will the Prime Minister study this report, and will his government respond to it in full?
Prime Minister.
Yes, we will. And we must fight anti-Semitism wherever we find it, as we must fight all hate offences, crimes and incidents wherever we find them.
Sir Ed David.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for that reply? I hope we will see more action to tackle anti-Semitism. But turning to the Middle East now, Mr. Speaker, the world is looking on in horror at the scenes from Gaza. And now Netanyahu's ministers want to lock the whole population of Gaza into effectively a giant prison. A plan that would clearly amount to ethnic cleansing, as former Israeli Prime Minister Olmert has said. Does the Prime Minister agree that this is utterly abhorrent and unacceptable? And will he make clear to the Israeli government that the UK will not stand idly by and will act, starting by sanctioning Prime Minister Netanyahu himself?
Prime Minister.
Well, I am appalled by these suggestions in relation to Gaza, just as I'm appalled by the reports of yet more civilians being killed whilst trying to access aid. So on both fronts, I am appalled by what we are seeing and what we're hearing, and we raise it regularly, as he would expect. In relation to the civilians being killed, I would expect them to be fully and transparently investigated with full accountability for any failings. And Israel must clearly put in place measures that properly protect civilians in line with international law. And that is the case we're pressing repeatedly. But we do also want to see, and alongside that, an immediate ceasefire so that the hostages, the remaining hostages, can be brought out and aid at volume and at speed can be got in, and a political process opened that, in my view, is the only way we're going to get a lasting solution.
And the back there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, 4-year-old Eli Tester was killed in Rottenstall Cemetery when a memorial stone fell on him. All of Rosendale was shocked by this tragedy, so I hope the Prime Minister will join me in offering our deepest condolences to Eli's parents and family. And Mr. Speaker, families in Rosendale are also deeply concerned about reports that Reform-led Lancashire County Council are considering cuts to nursery funding. This would raise costs for working parents and might even force some nurseries to close. If this is an example of the sort of efficiencies that Reform are considering, then all of Lancashire, indeed all of us, should be worried. So would the Prime Minister join me in asking Lancashire County Council to think again?
Prime Minister.
Can I extend my deepest condolences to Eli's friends and family? And I do join him in urging the new Reform Council to think again and to change their mind on damaging cuts that hit children and young families. I have to say, my honourable friend is doing a much better job than his predecessor, the Conservative Party chairman under Liz Truss, who has now joined Reform, which proves once again, if you vote Tory, you get Reform, and if you vote Reform, you get the Tories. Whilst both of them are cutting services at home, we support families with free school meals, free breakfast clubs, and extending free childcare.
Sir Desmond Swayne.
Jack Straw told us that the 98 Act places on us no expectation that we will remedy a declaration of incompatibility issued by a court. So the Prime Minister is wrong to say that the Legacy Act is struck down. But his own proposals, which open the door to compensation to Gerry Adams and place in jeopardy our own servicemen, present enormous difficulty to those of us who have served, increasingly on his own benches. Will he consider that?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the failed Legacy Act was struck down by the courts in Northern Ireland, and that leaves veterans exposed. What we're doing is creating a secure, transparent system that protects veterans from unjustified persecution, but also gives victims, families and survivors the confidence that they need in the process.
Paul Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Workers in Rochdale on the minimum wage received a much-needed pay rise this summer, thanks to this government. But honest businesses are being undermined by the menace of illegal working, particularly illegal working by illegal migrants from Iran and Iraq in bogus barber shops and fake vape shops. So will the Prime Minister agree with me that we need to speed up the rollout of digital ID, particularly to help our police and immigration staff crack down on this grey market that ruins our high streets and undercuts the workers' pay of British workers?
Well, my honourable friend is an excellent champion for Rochdale and a strong supporter, I know, of his local police and trading standards teams. Since we came to power, Mr. Speaker, we've ramped up enforcement raids on illegal working. Arrests have gone up by 50%, and we're tightening the law on delivery drivers. Digital ID will help us tackle illegal working, and we're rolling out the use of e-visas to have digital records of immigration status and checks to allow on-the-spot checks of anybody's right to work.
James McCleary.
Severe pregnancy sickness, hyperemesis gravidarum or HG, can mean vomiting more than 20 times a day. It causes physical discomfort, acute malnutrition and severe dehydration, which often leads to hospitalisation. It has profound and long-lasting mental health consequences. Recently, it was reported the woman took her own life after being denied access to the only licensed treatment, Zomvia. Tragically, her unborn child died too. The drug is licensed and available, yet women face a cruel postcode lottery to access it. Will the Prime Minister work urgently with the Department for Health to end this scandal so that every woman who needs Zomvia can get it wherever she lives? And will he meet with me and campaigners to look at this as a matter of urgency?
Prime Minister.
Well, thank him for raising this really important issue, and obviously incredibly sorry to hear about the tragic case that he mentions. As he will know, the availability of this drug is regulated across the NHS by NICE, who make decisions on which treatments provide the best care for patients whilst maintaining value for money with the taxpayer. But I will make sure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to see what more can be done to get this treatment to patients who need it.
Navandu Mishra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Stockport, approximately 20% of families live in social housing. After Stockport Liberal Democrat and Conservative councillors blocked the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework proposal in 2020, the need for social housing is even more critical. Far too many families are living in insecure, overcrowded accommodation, waiting years for a suitable family home. I welcome Labour's record-breaking £39 billion investment into social and affordable housing, and I want to make sure that communities like mine in Stockport are prioritised. So can I ask the Prime Minister to confirm that these homes will be built, they will be affordable, and will he look again at suspending the right to buy?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are delivering the biggest boost to social and affordable housing in a generation, and proud to do so. Our £39 billion investment will deliver around 300,000 sociable and affordable homes, with at least 60% of homes delivered for social rent. Mr. Speaker, whilst we don't intend to remove the right to buy, which helps social tenants get on the property ladder, we're reforming the scheme to protect social housing stock and encourage councils to deliver more new homes.
Sir Julian Smith.
Mr. Speaker, a much better understanding of the particular needs of autistic and neurodiverse children is vital to expand capacity in mainstream education for SEND pupils. Can I urge him, as he looks at this bill over the summer, the SEND bill, to introduce mandatory training for all teachers and all staff on autism and neurodiversity?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for that contribution, because parents and children have been failed far too often. We are committing an additional £1 billion into SEND, but there must be meaningful reform alongside it, and new teachers must have the appropriate training. So we're committed to reviewing, to working with parents and teachers, and we'll take away his suggestion. And I invite him and others across the House to work with us on this important reform, because I think this issue has been raised more than any other with me at Prime Minister's question. It's clearly a broken system. It needs reform, and if we can work together across the House to get it right, I think that is the least we owe to parents and children across the country. Thank you.
Blocker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I commend the Prime Minister for his work in tackling arbitrary detention of British citizens abroad and warmly welcome the creation of a special envoy. The Prime Minister will know of the anguish of the families of Jimmy Lai, Ryan Cornelius, Abdel Fattah, Jagtar Singh Johal and others. So can he tell us when he anticipates the appointment of the envoy, and will they have real powers like their counterparts in Canada and the United States to help bring our people home?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I start by thanking him for his work on the APBG, championing the plight of British nationals facing the most difficult circumstances overseas. We do routinely raise these cases with international counterparts, as he would expect, and we're deeply committed to getting them home and united with their loved ones. As part of strengthening support for British nationals overseas, we are working at pace to get the envoy role set up, and I'll make sure that he's kept updated in relation to that.
Blake Stibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Government plans for English devolution and NHS reform suggest that integrated care boards should align with new strategic authorities. The government's plan for Bedfordshire won't currently achieve this. So what assurances can the Prime Minister provide that local NHS reorganisation will be good value for money, improve local accountability and deliver the healthcare services needed to serve my constituents in rural mid-Bedfordshire, including the much-needed GP surgery in Wixhams?
Prime Minister.
The points to make about good value for money and accountability are really important. They're embedded in the work we're doing with the NHS at the moment, which is improving under our watch, not only the waiting lists, but in other respects. The 10-year plan for the NHS, which is intended to ensure that the NHS is fit for the future, has a number of principles, including principles of local accountability.
Randish.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On the 11th of June, Alexander Dennis announced that it was planning to stop bus manufacturing in Scotland. My honourable friend from Falkirk and I have both met with the workers, the trade unions, the company and both UK and Scottish Government ministers to see how closure can be averted. Alexander Dennis needs commitment of orders for 2025 and 2026, and elected mayors are ideally placed to do this. Our industrial strategy is right when it says where things are made and by whom matters. So, can the Prime Minister assure Alexander Dennis and the workers that he believes bus manufacturing should have a future in Larbert and Falkirk?
Prime Minister.
I'm grateful to him for raising this, and I'm deeply concerned. It is a deeply concerning time for the workers and their families in Falkirk. I do agree, and we are working with mayors and local leaders to develop a pipeline of future orders for zero-emissions buses, and that's an important aspect here. And the Minister of Local Transport is hosting an urgent meeting of the bus manufacturing expert panel. Mr. Speaker, while Labour mayors in England are ordering Scottish buses, the SNP are ordering buses from China. Just like they ordered ships from Turkey and Poland, not Scottish shipyards. The SNP should be backing Scottish workers.
Graham Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I begin by warmly congratulating the Prime Minister on his first year in office, acknowledge that the Labour manifesto was beautifully written, deeply moving, and like that other great blockbuster of hope and redemption, The Salt Path, a total pack of lies. With joblessness, inflation and debt ballooning, his personal ratings collapsing, and his backbenchers on a work to rule, could the Prime Minister recommend?
Come on, let's get on with the question.
Could the Prime Minister recommend a summer recess read in order to take all our minds away from the calamitous journey on which he and the Chancellor have embarked?
I think most of their backbenchers are already on their summer recess, looking at the benches opposite, Mr. Speaker. We are very proud of our manifesto. It's a very successful manifesto, giving a landslide victory, and now we're very proud to be implementing it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let us be clear in this House. Israel is starving Palestinian children. That is a war crime. Israel is killing Palestinian children as they queue for food. That is a war crime. Our government quite rightly imposes thousands of sanctions on Russia for its war crimes in Ukraine. How many more horrors must we witness before the Prime Minister acts with the same scale of sanctions against Israel to stop this genocide? Don't Palestinian lives matter?
Hear, hear. Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, I'm appalled by reports of more civilians being killed in Gaza, particularly when they are trying to access aid. And each of those incidents does need to be fully and transparently investigated, with accountability for any failing. That, of course, has to be alongside the ceasefire that is desperately needed, and we're working hard with others to achieve, to release all of the hostages that remain, but also to protect civilians and get much more aid at speed and volume into Gaza.
Lincoln John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I can see why you call these sessions Prime Minister's questions and not Prime Minister's answers.
If it carries on, there will be no more. Come on, Lincoln John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following the magnificent success of the England cricket team earlier on this week and the triumphal return of Mr. Jofra Archer, would the Prime Minister agree that what he needs to get from his ministers over the next 12 months is more pace and less spin?
Prime Minister. My ministers have delivered on the NHS, on the economy, on rail, etc. He needs a break.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Successive Conservative governments failed to invest in the North East transport infrastructure, whilst the Labour government is already changing that with the £1.8 billion recently secured for the region. Upgrading Moor Farm and Seatonburn roundabouts can build on that, unlocking growth, and it's supported by local people and businesses. Does the Prime Minister share my disappointment that rather than support my campaign for upgrades, the Conservative leadership in Northumberland County Council are actively undermining my lobbying efforts to deliver this game changer for the North East?
Prime Minister. She's doing a superb job for Northumberland, and I'm happy to set out what we've delivered. Over £400 million of funding for Northumberland County Council this year. That's a 5.8% increase this year, Mr. Speaker, an 80% increase in the number of homes starting construction in her area, a near £30 million increase in funding for Northumbria Police, and 14 free breakfast clubs in Northumberland supporting over 3,000 children. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. During my meetings with guests on the Homes for Ukraine scheme in my Newton Abbot constituency, they are telling me that they are worried about their visas running out, even with the 18-month extension. They see reports of Ukrainians being refused asylum in the UK since it's said to be safe to return to Ukraine, even while Putin's missiles explode in Ukraine cities in record numbers. Some of their children are working through 2- or 3-year education courses and are frightened of having to leave. Will the Prime Minister meet with them and myself to hear their plight and offer them some hope in this uncertain and dangerous world?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him for raising this, and we're proud to have offered or extended sanctuary to over 300,000 Ukrainians and their families throughout the visa scheme since the invasion in 2022. We do need to provide certainty and security for Ukrainians in the United Kingdom, and we will provide an additional 18 months permission to remain in the UK and continued rights to live, work and study here as well.
James Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2017, I led a select committee inquiry that warned of an emerging disaster in SEND. Those warnings went unheeded by the Conservatives, who left behind a broken system, which even they have admitted since is lose, lose, lose. Can the Prime Minister confirm that this Labour government's rebuilt SEND system will be shaped by listening to the needs of SEN families, never again ignored but served in the best traditions of a Labour government?
Prime Minister.
Well, he's right, and I think there's general agreement across the House that the system is broken, just like almost everything they touched, which was broken at the end of 14 miserable years. It doesn't work for parents and it lets down children, and we will reform it. We're already investing an additional £1 billion, but we do need a system that truly supports every child. We're developing proposals, and I want to work across the House in order to get the right outcome.
Final question, Pippa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yet again, we're suffering record-breaking heat waves and drought, which are worrying people in my constituency of South Cambridgeshire, which are both the fastest-growing and the most water-stressed area in the country. The proposed Fens Reservoir is important, but will only provide water for the already ambitious house-building plans, not the thousands of new homes that the government proposes. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the water crisis in Greater Cambridge is a deal-breaker for the government's growth plans, and will he help me urgently convene a ministerial roundtable with the Cambridge Water Scarcity Group?
She's right to draw attention to the drought and the question more generally of reservoirs. It is shocking that a new reservoir hasn't been built for a very, very long time, not at all in the previous 14 years. We are rebuilding now, and we're doing that alongside the infrastructure and housing that we also need to build, and we'll work across the House on that.
We'll let the front benches